What is happening, everyone? Welcome to GBALL Vision. Today, we are going to have a talk about. So, one thing that I've really been thinking about since the lock test video and all that, everything that I have read from all the comments, all the messages that I've gotten. Hell, I've gotten some emails since then as well. A lot of agreement and a lot of, or quite a bit of, possible disagreement, or that it's not affected them or will affect them, okay, as far as a knife failing. And I didn't make that video to convince you that it was an issue for you. I am only showing you that it is an issue with the knife. No matter what maker wants to say that, designer wants to say that it's not an issue, there are a plethora of frame lock knives, liner lock knives, button lock knives, compression locks, you name the lock, there are tons of knives that can pass light to medium to even hard and very hard spine wax to the back of the blade. When you have a knife that can fail and does fail due to the lightest tap, there is something wrong with that. Whether it is oil, debris on the lock face, something to do with that side of the equation, or is the geometry of the lock wrong? Something is wrong, whether it's the tang, the lock itself, the lock face, user error, there's something wrong there. And after diagnosing a couple of the knives, I haven't been through all of them yet. I'm waiting to get to my relative, but we'll go over more of it when I do my next lock video and testing video. But none of the knives tested so far that I've checked since that day had any oil on the lock face, no debris of any kind. Cleaned them with alcohol and white swabs to see if there was dirt and debris. And those knives are, some higher end production knives, and they got used some. Some of them are very new, so they haven't seen a ton of use. But my point is, there was no debris on those knives, no dirt, nothing that amounted to anything, let's say. But that's not what we're really diving into today. We're going to check every knife I own in a couple different videos, and then we are going to continue testing new knives. We just unboxed the CJRB Frac, which is phenomenal. Probably going to win best budget button lock of the entire year. It is solid as a rock. Very well tuned. Tolerances are great. This is a fantastic knife if you like a little bit bigger knives. I didn't realize how big this knife was until I got it in hand. But there it is up against the Para 3. Now, today's video, we are going to be covering form and function and why you have to have one, but you don't have to have the other. But if you have both, then that is great. So a functionable knife doesn't need to have the quote-unquote form. It doesn't need to have an aesthetic appeal. It doesn't need to have drop-shutty action or, tinging noises when it opens or whatever other item you want to insert that qualifies a knife. A knife is first and foremost something that is used to cut. Locking knives are supposed to stay locked up. We want our edges sharp because it's a cutting tool. We want our steel heat treated right because that's what holds our edge and toughness and corrosion resistance to the point that we are expecting it to be. We want comfortable handles, right? We want to comfortably use this knife while it's hair shaving sharp. We know the steel is where it's supposed to be. Spyderco, they do a fantastic job at nailing the function and not worrying about the form. And a compression lock is definitely fidgety. Does it have the drop shut action and all that? They can. They definitely can. But that is my point of they're nailing all the function aspects of the folding knife, and they're getting some form out of it. To me, I think they're aesthetically appealing. I know how good of a knife they are. So that makes me a little more, obliged to say I like the aesthetic of the Spydercos. A lot of them. Some are ugly, for sure. Some are ugly, but I don't own any that I think are ugly knives. Some people probably don't like the aesthetic of this Warney. I love it because I know how good of a tool it is, and I think it, Spydercos have really grown on me over the years. But they are able to nail the function aspect, and, they get a little bit of aesthetic appeal out of it. They do get a little bit of action out of it because it just comes with how well they do the knives. And the compression lock is a fun, fidgety lock. Some would disagree, for sure, but it is. It's a fun, functionable, strong lock. Too much these days, a majority of people focus on form, and I got lost in that a little bit myself, and it's been a little bit. I haven't really said anything. I haven't, everything at my live stream when we started talking about lock failures, it helped me kind of come out and just make a video and start talking about some of this stuff. But I kind of let it go as far, because I like good looking knives, I do, and you want your knife to be good looking. But as far as the action and all that sort of thing that has been intertwined to decide on if the knife is any good at all. Some people will throw the knife out, return the knife if it doesn't have good action. If that's the only aspect of the whole knife that they've tested, they didn't cut with it, carry it, use it for any amount of time, they just check the action, and that's no good, or it's not as good as they hoped, and they get rid of that knife. That has nothing to do, with the knife itself. Does it have a good heat treat on the steel? Did it come with a good edge? Is it comfortable? And I get getting certain knives for kind of your display, your collection, kind of just to maybe do some cutting, right? But mainly to carry it around and piss with it. I get that side of things because I kind of do that with some stuff. I use all my knives, some a lot more than others. You'd be surprised what knives I, do use quite often. But some I take care of a little bit more than others. But I take care of all of them, as much as I can. But we have gotten lost as a knife community in the form aspect, the form over function aspect. And I think it has allowed some of the designers, makers, companies to, and if you saw the video, I made a video a couple months back about knife companies taking advantage of us consumers and how they will, I'll link the video up in a card. I talk about how if they can get away with it, they will get away with it until the issue is brought to light, and then it's easy to kind of oh, that, blame it on whatever. But I talk about how people and companies, and that's not just in the knife world, that's in everything of our lives. If a company can make money, still make money, and cut certain corners, they will. They will. Of course, there are mistakes that are made, but for the majority of it, it's an intentional thing that is done in order to, whether it's to save man hours or to save machinery time or whatever it is, in some way, shape, or form, it is helping on the back end by cutting them corners. And because of what has transgressed over the last couple of years, when I first came into the knife community, action and all that sort of thing was a little bit around. It was around, but nowhere near to the point that it is now. And because it's been so popular over the last, let's say, 2 or 3 years, like very popular, we've had a lot of new people come into the knife community over the last couple of years. So a lot of them people are seeing reviewers go on and on about action and the form of the knife, and not really. Now, there are some reviewers who really do a great job at showing us what the knife, the tool can do. Stasa is a great channel who, he might not test lock strength and lock failure and some of that stuff, and I bet he might start incorporating that soon. But he does some of the best testing when it comes to showing us how the knife comes from factory as far as its edge and how well they heat treat that steel. Is it comfortable? That's what he shows you first. And you know why? Because that's what matters. Then later in his video, he touches on, how's the action and some of that type of stuff. Because it's secondary to what really matters. But there is a lot that is intertwined into this whole scenario. Like I said, the guys who are all about action and just pissing with your knife and you carry it around and use it occasionally, I have nothing wrong, I have nothing bad to say about any of them people, and I don't have an issue with you just fidgeting with it or messing with it, carrying around, and because I do it too. But I care about the function of the knife because I use my knives every single day. I'm a carpenter. A lot of you know that. I'm a carpenter, and I do all kinds of jobs. We help manage dozens and dozens of properties. We do all kinds of different commercial work. We do a lot of different work. And I am routinely getting into different things to cut, different materials. And so it's easy for me to use a knife several hours a week. And some people, the most they might do is cut some tape. So I could see where they might be mistaken that the lock issue, but even common sense should tell you this is a locking knife. I have this knife and it fails. I have this knife with the same lock, and this one holds up just fine. This one has an issue. I mean, that goes back to first grade kind of a deal. So, and does it matter to you? Is you should want the best out of that knife, whether it matters to you personally or not. You should want that knife to be locked up and stay locked up under very minimal duress or stress or whatever it might be. The excuses that have been made over the last week or so, some of them, I can kind of see, but some of them are asinine as hell. And you will always see me be reasonable with you as long as you are reasonable as well. And we can disagree on certain topics or certain things and still remain completely fine. If you disagree with me on the testing or the results of a testing or whatever it might be, there's no reason to, not be men and move forward. I will tell you usually if I disagree, and I will present my case and go about it like a normal man, and hopefully you can do the same as well, because I don't have any ill will towards any makers or companies or anyone else. I'm just trying to present my side, my thoughts, and show you what I think, show you what is happening with what I'm doing, to be transparent. So the reason for making this video is to hopefully open some eyes. There's definitely people who are already, eyes wide open to this topic, and it's not something that's going to get fixed overnight. It might take a long time, but hopefully we start getting some traction. I've heard excuses that the action would be insufferable if the tolerances weren't looser, or the geometry of the lock face wasn't slightly tapered, to not be very tight or correct, because the action would be horrible, or it would be impossible to move that lock bar over, right? That is complete dog shit. Anyone who is spewing that does not know what the hell they are talking about. I have bunches of frame locks that are passing even medium to hard spine wax, and it's easy to disengage. The action is still perfect. So that is completely false. So anyone who's saying that doesn't know what they're talking about. I brought the Spydercos out to show you what great knives are supposed to be, what function looks like. But I brought this CJRB frac out. This is new to me. It's a newer knife in general. But here's a company, CJRB, who is trying to appeal to the form aspect, the form group of knife buyers. But they did not sacrifice any function on this knife to get to that form. The plunge lock is strong as hell. During the unboxing, I test it, I check it, and off camera after the video, I even did some extra to it. And not only are they refining button lock model after model, with this one being their latest, and this is incredibly well done. It will win, most likely, unless something crazy happens over the next couple weeks. This will win button lock of the year, budget button lock of the year, without question. Beautiful drop point blade. They're using RPM 9, which is a powdered steel. It performs very well, holds an edge well. It's corrosion resistant, especially with their coating. Their coatings hold up good. It's pretty tough stuff. Great opening method, easy to open, easy to disengage, extremely comfortable handle, and included a full-size finger choil to get right up behind that edge, a useful two-way pocket clip. This is function combined with form. They do a fantastic job. And these locks are quote-unquote not meant for harder use tasks. And yet, there are several button locks out there, Hogue and CJRB, and a select few others as well, that can take a beating and not have any malfunctions or issues. So, explain that one. down in the comments as well. And then just quickly, we've been rambling enough. Here's another example of catering to the form aspect, but nailing all the function. A great useful blade, a pretty good heat-treated L-Max. From everything I can see, the L-Max has, I've been carrying the shit out of this knife. I clean it every day, and this is what it looks like today. This is a knife that I've really been hammering on and testing. The lock is strong as hell. It is fun to use, comfortable. This is functionable, but the form follows it, which is great. I love it. This is what I want, you know. And I will take function over form every day. Because with great function typically comes, you know, some good aesthetics, some good action, and fun to use. You know, and Spyderco provides that with just their functionality. They do a great job. There's companies out there who do a great job. Vosteed has growing pains, and they're working on those, but they can do it. It's not just about messing around with your knife and taking photos of it, you know. And I think Vosteed's starting to get that. That's why they've had to go back to the drawing board. They were making button locks and knives that were fun to play with. They weren't making cutting tools, so to speak. Now they're starting to kind of turn the corner and do a great job. You'll have to let me know, where do you fall? Do you want form? Do you choose form over function? Do you choose function over form? Do you want both, but you want function, you know, first? Let me know down in the comments where you stand on this topic. Like I said, we will dive into several hundred knives over the course of the next few days, couple weeks here. Testing every knife that I own. It should be just quickly per knife, quickly. So it's not, you know, going to be a 8-hour movie. So we'll be moving along, testing each one and just kind of documenting it. And we're going to document the hundreds of examples I have. And then we're also going to combine that with all the comments from the lock video and everything else I have received dealing with locks and what's passing, what's failing, you know, and we'll try to come up with a nice, you know, bit of information, you know, and kind of maybe come to some conclusions. Something of that nature. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up or the thumbs down. You hit that button twice, then you hit the thumbs up. That's how it goes. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think, where you stand. If you're new to the channel, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button down below the video. I'm going to throw up 2 new videos here and here. Go check one of those out, and I will catch you on the next one.